Good evening, everyone. All right, so this isn't, y'all know, this isn't what I typically do. Um, just felt compelled, we had just recently finished doing the Same Difference Live earlier, where we didn't really talk about nothing, but I was relaxing, so kind of scrolling online, came across a story. Obviously, started looking into it, seeing the details and whatnot. So this guy in Louisiana, I'm not even gonna say his name, uh, killed his 7 kids. He also shot their mother, who was his wife or ex-wife, or she was trying to leave. Um, I believe her sister as well at another location, and also killed another kid who was there, but not his. Um, there have been a lot of similar stories lately of domestic violence specifically, um, and specifically against Black women. And while again, this is not something I typically do, I don't take on these, subjects with this kind of weight. I'm more. Life is hard. You know what I mean? Like everybody is going through something. Like we're all dealing with stuff on a day to day that other people don't know about. Struggles that you don't share. Some struggles very personal that you don't share with anybody. So as far as my presence online, I typically try to keep it light. I typically try to just bring levity to silly dating shows. Um, drop little nuggets here and there. I try to make sure that there's actual value to the content, but mostly I'm here for jokes. But I do believe that there's a responsibility that all of us have with whatever level of influence we have to, at certain times, have difficult conversations and lend our voices to. I don't even think I have my mic plugged in. Hold on. Have you noticed a difference in the way I sounded so far?
Nah, I'm pretty sure your mic is plugged in.
Yeah, it's not the right one. Hold on. Check, check, check. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Is there a difference?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right. Sorry for that. I forgot to plug my mic in. Um, but what I was saying, I think that whatever level of influence you have, I think we all have a responsibility at certain times when we notice certain things happening in our world to use our voices to try to make some sort of difference or have some sort of positive impact uh, on the world, or on that situation specifically. So I thought it would be appropriate for us both being Black men and also both being fathers, you being in the unique position of having 7 kids in the house with you, right? Currently.
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah. You have 8 total, 7 in the house with you, right?
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes I forget what the order, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, I just thought it'd be appropriate for us specifically to talk about this, how we feel about what we've seen, what we've heard, and then we can have some forward reaching conversations on what can be done to actually change this trend that we're seeing with misogynoir, with domestic violence, with gun violence specifically in our community, and but not just us, because one of these cases that happened recently was a white man, who was with the sister. But um I'm saying I'm a whole lot tonight. Y'all can't tell. This is not something I'm necessarily excited to talk about. But again, I felt compelled, and I felt like we had to. But I want to give you an opportunity, Sean, just to respond. Uh, your initial thoughts, your initial feelings when you
I
when you heard the
mean,
story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's shocking every time I hear anything like this. But I mean, I don't know. I think just the increase of it is the fact that time just continuously getting harder and harder, and pushing the crazy over the edge. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know how to react to stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all universally react the same way. Everybody is just, you have the initial shock and horror of it, like really, like seriously, like how, and then we start questioning, you know, why things like this are even allowed. God's role and everything. You get real. You can kind of get off the rails when shit like this happens because
Yeah,
it throws everything into question. Because one thing that should be universally understood is that we protect children. You know what I mean? That kids are precious and kids are a resource that we guard literally with our lives. So when horrible things happen to children, it's always a shock to us all. And then when they happen at the hands of a parent, it's even more shocking because being parents, we can't understand how you get to a point emotionally where that doesn't matter. Where you're so angry about whatever it is that I'm really sorry.
you understand?
I'm really
But
sorry. All right, let's put us up with the media, in the media screen, and I'm just gonna play this clip real quick.
Imagine what the police officers, first responders actually dealt with when they got here today. To hear children escaping out of the back door, and as we often forget what they go through mentally as well. Please let's not forget them as we in our prayers and we talk about what they carry home, as Councilman Butcher mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, you can take that down. Yeah, so those who pray, um, as she mentioned there, you don't think about that. And at least I don't think about that. But when she said it, it really, kind of hit home to me. Imagine being a first responder and having to walk into that scene and discover that. So as we're praying, of course, for the family, the mother, the sister, and all the family members and just everybody in the community who is dealing with this loss. Um, Also, there's a serious emotional impact on those first responders who had to walk in and see this scene. That I, that can't do anything but scar a human being. So sorry to them as well for having to experience this. So and that's whatever you do spiritually, I know we're all sending, positivity and good vibes to those people, but just make sure you keep those first responders in mind as well. But just to move the conversation forward, from the tragedy of it all, what can we do? Because being upset, cool, thoughts and prayers, wonderful. Uh, there are a lot of battles going on right now politically. Uh, So, moving the needle in any way with regards to gun control, gun reform, feels like a losing battle. Um, so, what tangibly can you actually do? And I don't think it would be responsible for us to just come on here and talk about the facts of what happened, if not uh, with the goal of hopefully floating some possible solutions to keep things like this from perpetuating. So I'm just going to talk specifically about our community because that's who we are. It's where we're from. Obviously, a large amount of our fan base is from our community, the Black community specifically. And I think as Black men, this is a conversation that we're qualified to have with each other. You know, so
Mhm.
let's talk about misogynoir. Let's talk about domestic violence and the increase in serious physical violence that we're seeing, the trend that we're seeing over the past few weeks. I didn't pull media from the other cases. We know that there's two political figures. One was the political figure was the husband who murdered his wife and himself, and then in the other case, the political figure was the wife, and she was murdered by her husband. Um, but he did not kill himself. He's in custody. And then we have the interracial couple that went on a trip in Africa, and you know what happened there. So
Mhm.
those are just the big stories that we've heard about. Of course, you know, this shit is happening all over the place every day. And so the obvious question is why? You know, like what is this extreme violence towards our women? Why is it happening? What's the root cause of it, and what can be done to prevent it going forward? Um, Obviously, we're all aware that environment has such a huge impact on everything about who you are. It's not just where you grew up, but it's like what you saw growing up. You know, what examples of relationships did you see? Like what examples of love did you see? How were the women in your family treated? How did you see the men in your family deal with women? How were they talked about? What got you respect as a kid growing up? You know what I'm saying? Like in a lot of ways, we were, and I can speak for myself, in a lot of ways, just you know, going through school and everything, we were conditioned to assign, you know, a certain level of worth to being able to conquer a woman that we find attractive. You know what I'm saying? To get that. You know what I mean? Like as if she's a goal and not a person to get to know. You know, that objectification is kind of part of our upbringing as young men. It's honestly kind of ingrained. And how can we reverse that? How can we, and you specifically being the father of many, many daughters, you know what I'm saying? How can we are you frozen? Oh shit. Sean's frozen. All right. Hopefully he'll be able to get back in there. But the question I was posing is how can we reverse the trend of conditioning our young men to view women as goals, as objectives, as prizes to win, um, and how can we deconstruct the um, the misogyny in our own minds? How can we deconstruct the the principles of patriarchy that we don't even recognize? Um, it's funny. It's not nothing about this funny, but it's ironic. I was actually uh, on Threads earlier today, and the comedian Ryan Davis had posted just about a responsibility of men to learn about the patriarchy and learn about the advantages that we have that we're not even aware of. Because just because we weren't responsible for setting up the system, we're still benefiting from the system. So it's our responsibility to learn how we're benefiting from that system and how it's having an impact on our female counterparts. And I just thought it was a really interesting post because it kind of challenged me in the sense that I don't obviously think about the patriarchy that often. I don't think about, you know, the systems in place that make it more advantageous for me to be a man, because that's just my natural experience. It's not something I ever had to think about. It kind of reminded me of the time when I was kind of awakened to the idea that it's not the same for a woman as it is for me to go walking at night. Just the thought of a woman just going for a walk at nighttime. It's a totally different experience. You know, I don't think anything about going outside, regardless of the time, and that's just it's just it's not because I don't care. It's just not my experience. But that ignorance doesn't excuse us from seeking to educate ourselves, right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the point of. I don't know how much you heard what I was saying, but that was the point of the post. So I think that's what it starts with. I think it starts with just a willingness for all of us to start recognizing the little things, because those, I think that's what grows into these bigger situations where there's such little acknowledgement and respect for the humanity of women, that the violence against them can become so commonplace and so normalized. You know what I mean? I think just the little daily intricacies that we don't notice, like the little daily side effects of patriarchy, and how it positions men and always in this advantageous position, and it puts women in the position of almost having to acquiesce or gain our approval in order to advance in certain areas of society. And how that just naturally dehumanizes. You know, because whenever you have a superiority, like whenever there's like this level of, well, I'm better than you because of this, or I'm greater than you because of that, it dehumanizes, because you can't, if you can't see them as an equal for whatever the reason, then any harm done to them is it feels less impactful to you. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there's a lot of men out there that's just not willing to learn anything about women, you know. And I mean, like you said, this is, you know, roots back into, ancient days. But, if you just, I don't know, I mean, it takes a while before you realize it. I mean, I might have realized it, a long time ago, because I have so many daughters and so many sisters, sisters that made me, forced me to listen to what they had to say. And, so I kind of just, I think I seen things a little different at a young age. But, after it all clicks in your head, sometimes you hear a man talk and you can hear everything wrong, and mentally
Yeah,
with them. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But I mean, it's but like you said, it's rooted from back in the day. This stuff is raised in a lot of these men, so it takes them being willing to listen to what's really going on to start that learning process. You know what I mean? And I mean, like you said, we don't know what everybody done been through, and like what they seen their mama go through, or what they seen, how they seen their dad treat their mama, or it's so many different cases of how people are raised up. But it all starts with being able to listen. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of men just ain't nowhere near that point for some reason.
okay. Well, I mean, let's talk about that. So why is it hard for men to listen, or why do we lack self-awareness when it comes to misogyny, misogynoir, patriarchy, all of that shit?
It,
Um, and I think it's actually it's related to racism in a lot of ways, because we say the same thing about white people. Like, just because you didn't own slaves and you didn't set up this system, because you benefit from it, it's your responsibility to learn how this system is rigged, in your advantage, and how you can help others, gain some advantages. You know what I'm saying? Like, we literally say the same thing. So, men have that same responsibility when it comes to our women, and it's specifically black men with black women, because just like we deal with layered issues, they deal with layered issues, and that's where the whole misogynoir of it comes in. Because, and we'll get to that in a second, but what I wanted to say next was just with regards to why don't we listen? What's the blockage? How are we taught to deal with emotions? Growing up as men, like what was our example, and what was the blueprint when it came to emotions, and how to process emotions, um when to be sad, when to even express your emotions, don't cry, don't be soft, always be in control.
yeah,
Like, it's I was joking with Chris from It Takes Two, because
Mhm.
in one of their reviews on Temptation Island, he was joking about, you know, how men ain't supposed to cry, and he was like, we get one cry every 10 years. So, you know, I was, you know, going back and forth with him in the comments, just talking, one cry every 10 years is insane. But the reason the joke is funny is because there's truth to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's what makes any joke funny. That the hint of reality in that joke is what makes it funny. And the truth is, we are very restricted when it comes to the expression of emotions. So I think a lot of times we don't want to listen to women because nobody listens to us. We feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like because we're raised to feel like don't nobody give a fuck.
I
You know what I'm saying?
mean,
Like
yeah,
that's the whole thing. And I'm guilty of saying this to my sons. Like, hey man, nobody gives a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to figure this shit out because nobody's gonna care. You know what I'm saying? The world does not give a fuck about you. Like I've said that shit to my son. So we
yeah,
we we get that ingrained in us. So then we turn around because we're just used to having to suppress and hold in all of our shit when women who are naturally more expressive are trying to just do what's healthy and express. We don't want to hear it, you know what I'm saying? Because we
yeah.
just and that's something that we need to kind of start figuring out how to work around. But what were you about to say?
I was just gonna say it's actually I forgot what I was gonna say now. uh it was something about what you just said.
Come
I
on,
don't
nigga,
know.
you ain't that old.
No, it ain't about it. It ain't an age thing. But no, I mean it's it's like you said, a lot of us were raised that we couldn't show any emotion, and like you said, if we did, nobody would care. But doing that over years and years makes you completely horrible at dealing with emotions. And women are emotional creatures. So you never dealt with your own emotions. So you don't know how to deal with emotions, yet you try to deal with women. You know what I'm saying? That combination will never ever work. You know what I mean? And I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, it's so different from me. Like I had the uncles and the cousins that would see me cry and be like, "Ah, nigga, you act like a little, whatever." And but they were only far and few between. Like I was raised with my mom and my sisters, and like I mean they were still hard, but I could
It's
cry.
different.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And I mean not only that, but like that's all I knew. You know what I mean? Like my mom and my sisters was all I knew. Like I said, I see my uncles here and there, whatever they come through, but it was still just for a few hours or whatever.
yeah.
And I don't know. So it's completely different. But then I was around, you know, the other dude, people that was our age that would still talk bad about me because I had emotions. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But and I mean, but on the other side, that's also what made me the fighter that I am. You know what I'm saying? So it's still even the misogyny that they were ingrained with still affected me, making me have to be harder than I should be. You know what I'm saying?
The hyper masculinity. So
Yeah,
that was something else because can you kind of led to that was something else I want to talk about because one of the things that we deal with as black men is like there's this racist masculinity identity that we have or that is put upon us, this the super strength, you know what I'm saying, that the the extra anger, you know, just the more physical dominance. So it's we're like almost more required to be strong than other men because we also have those negative stereotypes, which in some cases can work in your advantage, but for the most part, it influences this hyper masculinity that we
match
have to
up
try to
to.
show. Yeah, I don't know if I'm even using that term right, but what were you saying? Because we have a similar experience, you know. I've talked on here before. Like my father didn't raise me. My father was in and out of prison most of my life, mostly in, most of my life. So I was never after 3 years old, I was never raised in the household with my father. My mother remarried when I was 8. So from 3 to 8, I was just me and my mom, and then after that, she remarried. Um, in the beginning, I didn't have the closest relationship with my stepdad because I wasn't used to a man being in the house. So that was an adjustment for me. That was kind of a rude awakening for me, honestly. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, it's a different kind of discipline, and it's also a different standard. So I've been allowed to be more emotional. I've been allowed to be more, you know, I guess naturally myself.
Yeah, express it.
In those years, and when I was being raised exclusively by my mother, and then her sister. So my mother and my aunts, my grandmother, spent a lot of time with her. My great grandmother. So almost every woman in my family had a hand in raising me. So I was allowed to be very emotional as a child, and then I get a stepfather all of a sudden, and nigga, why you so emotional? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's trying to correct what he feels like all these women have done wrong by allowing me to, be so emotional. And so we had our issues at the beginning of that. Are you frozen again? Damn. I restarted my system before we came into this live, so that's why I'm not having those issues. But I do see the comments coming in. I wanted to have him put them up on the screen, but we'll have to wait till he gets back in. So it'll just be us for a moment. But what we were talking about, and just the effects of not being allowed or not being encouraged to express emotion, is we do learn suppression, and that suppression, those emotions don't go away. Like those that anger, that sadness, whatever it is that we're suppressing, it doesn't go away. It festers, and it can grow into something very dangerous, which is what we're seeing a lot of times in these cases. Because while we're out in the world trying to gain the same level of respect that we feel like other men get, right? And that's not in the sense of respect your manhood, but respect as in having the same capabilities, having the same um, intentions. A lot of times, having the same pure desire just for life, for liberty, for love. Like most of we just want to be happy. You know what I'm saying? And being a black man in this country, sometimes it feels like you're looked at in such a way that you almost have to prove to people that you don't mean harm. You know what I mean? Like I want the same shit you want. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to provide for my family. I want to be able to do things with my kids. I want to be able to live a comfortable life. I want to be able to, you know, have fun, go on vacations. I just want to be able to experience the wonder of creation, just like you. I'm not out here with any malice in my heart. I'm not trying to harm anybody. And I almost feel like you always have to prove that at the same time, having this hyper masculinity, pushed upon you, where you do have to be a real nigga 24/7. So, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot. And with all the suppression that comes with that, we're just not able to process. A lot of us aren't able to process our emotions properly. And we were talking earlier about therapy. Are you frozen again? Oh my God. Me and Sean were talking earlier about therapy and about the importance of therapy. I was talking about how I had started therapy. I was going for a while. I was really getting a lot out of it. I was really enjoying it, honestly. It was helping me learn a lot about myself, about why I respond to certain things the way I do, why I act the way I do, why I had the difficulties that I've had in my life. It really is good just to learn yourself, because that's how you start fixing things. That's how you start cracking the code. Like, oh, I respond to this like this because of that. And now that I realize that, I can start combating that, and instead of just accepting it as this is the way I am. And I think that's the danger a lot of us get into. We accept negative things about ourselves as this is just how I am, or this is just how I act, because we're not willing to figure out, okay, why do I act like this, and is it actually good for me, and what is it actually doing for me? So that self-reflection and that education of self comes through therapy. So we were talking about the importance of that, and I was talking about how I need to get back into it. He was expressing his desire to go to therapy because he's never talked to a therapist. And I believe if that was more normalized in our community, then a lot of these cases, could be avoided, because it's obvious anybody that would do something like this is struggling from some sort of mental issue. Or granted, it could just be demonic possession. You know what I'm saying? Let's just call it. You have somebody who's already a bit unhinged, and it just doesn't take much. And one day they're pushed off the edge, and they're susceptible because their spirit is flawed in some way. I can go, but let's just say that it's just your common everyday disorder, and he's just never been diagnosed, or he's never been treated, or he's never been in an environment where he was encouraged to talk through or deal with those things, you know. And then you have a tragic situation where they're apparently going through a breakup. Did you restart your system?
Yeah.
Okay. They're apparently going through a breakup, and she's wanting to leave, and he can't accept it. So can go back to the first comment by Dulce, Dulce, Dulce 69. You can pull up the next one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Natural Day.
I don't know why it's so hard for some men to be willing to take that first step and listen.
Yeah, online is a thing, and paying attention to what your kids do online, it's easier said than done. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I think that's something that we all could take a little bit more seriously as far as monitoring uh, their online activity and presence. All right, go to the next one. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a breakdown in society in general with regards to stressing that the importance of protecting women.
And that's what's crazy. A lot of the man, like the hatred that men are getting, to some men it opens their eyes, but to other men they just get angry and can't see the problem. You know what I mean? Which is what's just adding more to the hate. You know what I mean? All you have to do is sit back and listen to.
It sounds like racism.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Same shit.
it's
Like
the
some
same
people
thing.
get mad, like, and then
I mean,
others are like,
that's why racism never dies, is because it's still ingrained in people. You know what I mean? I mean, whether it's through TV or whatever the case is, it's all over the place. Of you know men just being what a man is supposed to be. You know what I mean? And it's
and we and
toxic.
we and we don't even really know. A lot of times we don't even really know. Either we didn't get good examples, or are the examples that yeah.
I mean, not, and that's the thing. It's not about. I mean, like I didn't have no male examples, but it's not an example that should come from a man. Like you literally have to listen to women in order to understand. You know what I mean? Like it's
Well, I'm just talking about having a good image of what a man is supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like not modeling exceptional malehood. Like what is that? What is a good man? Like what defines a good man? You know, that's why
but
a lot of go ahead.
even with that, there's so many things that women have had to deal with that I don't know that there is a real example of a good man. Like men should constantly be learning as we go because we've
Well, I mean,
never
yeah,
like
speaking literally, yeah, like none of we're all flawed, you know what I'm saying, in some way or another. But I'm just saying, like, all right, so for instance, the good man in my family that everybody always told me I should be like, you know, the good man that was always referenced, unfortunately passed away when I was 4 years old. That was my great grandfather. Right. I was fortunate enough to have my great grandmother until I was about 26. You know what I mean? So I know a lot of people don't get to experience that. So very grateful. And I'm grateful to I have memories of my great grandfather. But he almost became a legend. You know what I'm saying? It's just this man of God, worked with his hands, preached at the church, loved his wife, took care of his family, and never did nothing wrong. You know what I'm saying? If he ever got aggressive, it's because somebody else was in the wrong. Like just it becomes lore, it becomes legend, it becomes almost like Jesus, you know, to where okay, I can't live up to this standard. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it becomes something that, you know, like yeah, I mean, they don't make him like that anymore. You know what I'm saying? They don't make him like granddad. You know, he was a one of a kind. You know, so then you become more accustomed to what you can relate to. You know what I'm saying? Like the men around you, the men that are within reach, and also like your peers. What we're learning, like I was talking about, we're kind of conditioned even from childhood. You know, if you get the prettiest girl, or as we get older, the one with the fattest ass, whatever, like that was a status symbol. Like that, it wasn't about the person. It was about what she made you look like and what she said about you. What having her said about you. And I think that is at the root of us not being able to put an end to this violence against women, because when you can see them as something to be attained that is doing nothing but edifying you, then it's easy to exact violence on that person because they're not an equal. They're not, they're not, you don't have that inherent respect for them because you're not seeing them as an equal. You're seeing them as an accessory, essentially. So how do we deconstruct that? And how do we start, instead of, encouraging that type of mindset to where, like having the finest or the prettiest or whatever girl meant something about you, to the importance of finding a partner in life, who you can go through all the ups and downs with, the importance of actual like happiness and joy, the importance of finding purpose. You know what I mean? Like how can we make those things more a priority? And I think that's a layered thing, because we're talking about culture, we're talking about music. We can go into like how certain types of music were encouraged over the years, and like certain types of artists were pushed more universally than others. How rap initially was a very conscious art. It was a very political art originally, and it's devolved into something to where like the first Love Island Beyond the Villa video, I said rap is dead, because you have somebody with no talent. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? All you need is a few words that rhyme, some beats, some good production, saying some stupid shit, and people bobbing their head. It's music. It's good. But the problem is, like, there's a message that's being driven into your mind subconsciously, and we've been getting shitty messages for decades. You know what I'm saying? Just over and over and over again. So to the point where our community is so sick that we don't see a problem with some of the music we listen to when it's absolute shit. Like it's terrible. Like it's horrible, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be on some, blame the artist type shit, but I'm just saying like it's all part of it. all these different little things contribute to the overall issue and to where these things become normalized. Were you gonna? I feel like I've been rambling for a minute. Did you have something to say?
I mean, no, I can speak on the music thing. I mean, it's just, hey, I don't know. It's, back in the day, like you said, it went from conscious, but then, even when it went different, I feel like we didn't take it literal because we knew it was about a show. You know what I mean? Like the rappers we grew up with were showy, if that makes sense. But like these rappers nowadays, like they're speaking their truth. You know what I'm saying? And so people aren't listening to it as a show. They know that this is the life that these guys are actually about. And I think that affects more than our music did, if that makes sense. Hey, I mean, how everybody talk about the YNs. Hey, it's, I don't know, like these dudes have no respect for anything or anybody. You know what I'm saying? And then you go to the men that was their example. You know what I'm saying? Which was, I guess, technically the guys that our rappers were rapping about. You know what I'm saying? The show that our rappers gave was the life that those type of dudes was actually living. And I don't know, to me, with the rappers actually living that life now, it's making more of those dudes, which I don't think that we had as many back in our day, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I
It's
mean,
that like you said, that hyper
I mean, a lot,
masculinity.
a lot of the niggas we listen to were talking about some shit that they actually did too. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
I mean,
That's
but it
always
was
kind of
exaggerated.
in some cases, but they were also. What the point is, a certain message became more encouraged, right? Messages
Mm-hmm.
of violence, messages that are more objectifying when it comes to women. Those are the ones that became more mainstream. That's the type of artist that became more marketable, and everybody kind of followed suit. So it wasn't paying to be the conscious, political rapper. It was paying to be the ratchet.
Yeah,
And that's kind of where. But now, what I was talking about specifically, not just the ratchet of it all, but I'm talking about the sheer violence of it all, where we're literally talking about murdering each other.
yeah,
As if that's something to bob your head to. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But like we're
yeah,
we're literally talking about murdering each other, and those messages being ingrained and being heard over and over and over, that can't not have an effect. Like we
yeah,
can't be obtuse. We can't just act like the shit just is fine. Every generation has, negative music. Yeah, of course. You know what I mean? But that every generation is affected by that negative music as well. So just because every generation does it doesn't mean it's good.
yeah.
Just
Nah,
because, what I'm saying, just because every generation we have people saying, the kids nowadays, y'all music, yeah, and they're probably right. Again, like a lot of the shit that we were listening to coming up, like you said, this is just growing on top of that. Like
yeah, yeah.
everything starts at a base, but
It's
the
a
found,
staircase.
yeah. So yeah, the shit was always bad. We just accepted it because everybody did it. Every generation does it, so we just accept it as part of the process. But no, we can actually say that, hey, maybe we need to stop doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe we need to stop. And you and I both, rap before, so we both at times been guilty of perpetuating more negative messages than positive messages. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's something that
We have made
became.
a lot of positive messages too, though.
Yeah, yeah, but there's it's just, but I'm saying it's just something that became. I mean,
Normal.
honestly, that's part of what our issue was, because we were actually trying to speak against a lot of shit back when it
Yeah,
wasn't popular to speak against a lot of shit.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
that
so
was the thing. That
but
I think we knew at an early age that hyper masculinity was useless. You know what I mean? Like I don't I don't know. I mean, I know some guys that are, you know, that I don't even know how to describe it, but I don't think we've ever. I mean, we've been disrespectful, and I feel like, I mean, even in just the
I mean, I
last.
think I'll say this as far as in dealings with women specifically, our issues have been, at least I'll speak for me specifically. Okay, my issues have been not being completely honest about where I was with regards to readiment when it came to commitment. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I've also been guilty in the past of just falling too fast. You know what I'm saying? Just
Mhm.
getting too caught up in the emotion of a new relationship and thinking that it's always going to feel like this, being the hopeless romantic that I was. And honestly, I was affected by my experience growing up. The fact that I didn't have my mother and father together, that I didn't grow up with that experience. I always wanted to create that, and it got to a point where when I got old enough to create it, I wanted to do it as fast as possible. All I wanted to do growing up was be a father, have a family, have that's all I wanted. I wanted to do
Mhm.
everything that my dad didn't, you know?
Yeah.
And there's a danger in that too, because then you're rushing to create something because you didn't have it, but you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't
So
even
you
know
end
how to
up you
be.
end up then perpetuating the cycle that you were trying to avoid because you're trying too soon to do something that you're not ready for. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So but I mean thankfully, as far as this 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 violence that we're seeing, which is what we want to speak about, and just getting to the misogynoir of it all. This is actually something that I'll be completely transparent. I had never even heard the term misogynoir until like maybe a couple of years ago, bro. Like I was completely ignorant to the fact that there is a difference between misogyny and misogynoir. You know what I'm saying? Completely ignorant to it. And I think that's a lot of us, are just
Yeah.
ignorant to it. Because unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is so ingrained that we're not aware that it's actually a thing. Just like you were saying, like the racists who hear about racism and then get upset instead of open their eyes and say, okay, oh, this is something we need to work on. The reason they get upset is because it upsets the status quo. Like if things change, I like the things the way they are. So just
Yeah.
pull yourself
Yeah.
up by your bootstraps, figure it out. I've seen niggas make it, so I know niggas can make it in this country. So it's just something wrong with you, nigga. You know what I'm saying? It ain't the
Yeah.
racism, nigga. It's you. That
Yeah.
that's the message that they want to push because they're comfortable with the way things are. Um, we have to get more uncomfortable with things like this. And I think maybe it's easier for us because we have daughters, but it shouldn't take having a daughter to recognize that violence against women is fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying a
And,
lot of
and
the guys that are violent, they have daughters as well, and that's what I'm saying. It's a mental thing, like how you said, like not seeing a woman as your equal is the first. That's going to be the first issue when it comes to this violence. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so with that, and then the fact that it's already whatever it is in turmoil. Like domestic violence doesn't just happen overnight. This is something that's been going on, and it usually always escalates. And it's things like the kids and everything else. It's a whole mentality that you have that puts you trapped into that system. You know what I mean? And so I mean, as far as that, that man is already gone. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's too far gone that he can't learn, but he's pretty far gone at this point. You know what I'm saying? Hey, he's not listening to women. He's abusive to women, and I mean, it's gonna eventually lead. Which I don't understand the whole kid situation. Like, to me that has to be something, I guess, that's happening in the moment or something, because I don't understand how a
Yeah,
father.
I just call that demonic possession, bro. Like that like
Yeah, like
you've gotten so angry and you've let go of reality to an extent now where you're open to all kind of spiritual influences. Because
yeah,
I don't think that if he had a second, I don't know. I'm not gonna try to put myself in the mind of somebody who would do that shit, but I do feel like it's you have you ever felt like you lost control? Have you ever had like a panic attack? Have you ever just felt like you're not in control of the things that are happening around you? I feel like that has to be the case. Are you frozen? Oh my god. That has to be the case. I think for it to escalate to that point, you've gotten too angry. I don't think the human body can control that level of anger. You're open. Your portals are open to too many other influences at that point. But I'm honestly not trying to understand him. I think more importantly, we just want to highlight these things so that it can be something that people start thinking about. And even if you're, like me, you just ignorant to a lot of these things, maybe become curious about and start learning about, and that'll impact this stuff like this, and learning about things like this will impact conversations that I have down the line. They'll impact conversations that I have with my sons. They'll impact conversations that I have with any other man that may come to me for any type of advice or any conversation on women that they're dealing with. I just think that awareness is important. I was trying to wait for Sean to get back to talk more specifically about misogynoir, but I don't want to belabor the point. So yeah, so let's talk about misogynoir specifically. So Black women not only deal with misogyny, and this again is something that I just recently have started to educate myself on, so I'm in no ways an expert whatsoever. But not only do you deal with misogyny, but in addition to that, the dehumanizing that comes with misogynoir, because there's a racism coupled with with the misogyny, and it shows up in different ways. Not like not believing or not respecting a Black woman's pain. They say that they're hurting, and you hear about how there are so many more cases of things happening to Black women because doctors, nurses, whoever just don't listen to them when they say that something's wrong. Calling Black women aggressive when they're just setting boundaries, making Black women feel like they have to act more docile in order to not, come across a certain way like that. That's misogynoir. That's not an issue that on a large scale that white women have to deal with. Um, Expecting loyalty while being completely disrespectful. you know, I think that's another example of it, to where we feel like because you're our women, you owe us, this loyalty that we're not showing you. Um, it's double standards. There's a lot of double standards built in. So
It's a
again,
whole
like
lot of double standards. Yeah.
yeah, it's basically built on double standards.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I really want to try to spin this in a positive direction just by learning more, honestly. So I was trying to figure out like what resources I could use. I was looking up like because I want to read 3 more books this year. So I want to try to make a pact with y'all, right? For whoever else may see this and may be interested in educating themselves on misogynoir, on misogyny in general, on um, the patriarchy and how it impacts the women in our lives. Um, I found these 3 recommendations. They're all by, oh man, I lost the name of the author. Hold on, let me look something up real quick. Yeah, what's her pen name? Bell hooks. I knew I was gonna be mad when I saw it. All right. These are all by bell hooks. So I'm going to read these 3 books before the end of this year. And anybody else who wants to become accountability partners with me, I want y'all to agree with me to read these 3 books by the end of this year. Men specifically. Any men who see this, any black men specifically who see this. We Real Cool, Black Men and Masculinity. Um, Also, The Will to Change, Men, Masculinity, and Love. And lastly, All About Love, New Visions. These are all by Bell Hooks. Again, that's We Real Cool, Black Men and Masculinity, The Will to Change, Men, Masculinity, and Love, and All About Love, New Vision. So these are the 3 books that I want to read by the end of the year. Anybody else who wants to join in that, will be accountability partners. I'll be posting things related to this, just kind of show my progress as I get through these. But I think that a willingness to educate yourself on biases that you may have that you may not be aware of. I know I have habits. I know I have thought patterns. I know I have things that because I've grown up in a patriarchal society that I'm not even aware of. And I think learning about those things, being willing to learn about those things, is one way that we can, slowly start to turn this ship in a different direction. And I mean, nobody can change the world by themselves, but I think the more people have these kind of conversations, and the more we acknowledge the reality that, hey, this is a problem. It's specifically a problem in our community. It's not only a problem in our community, but it is a problem in our community. And I think, instead of saying they do it too, let's address how we can fix the shit in our own house. You know what I'm saying? Because we know who we know we got ops. You know what I mean? But we need to all be fighting on the same side. So this shit that's happening in black families, it sickens me, bro. Like it honestly sickens me to see this. And I'm so sorry for those babies. It's those times, man, when you really question like the grand scheme. You know what I mean? Like how on earth is this working for anybody's good? You know what I mean? But it's just, it's the duality of free will. When we got free will, we got free will. And part of having free will is being free to deal with the consequences of that will. And we're all responsible. We're all responsible for everything that we're dealing with right now, because in a lot of ways we've all been complacent. Why am I just now talking about this? You know what I'm saying? This is like the 4th DV story that's come across my feed over the past couple of months. Why am I just not talking about this? Complacency is all over the place. Like we're too used to it, and we're all numb, and that's got to stop, man.
A lot of people that's not willing to listen.
No, but we'll deal with those who are. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't do nothing with somebody that's not willing to listen. But I think there are way more people who are than those who aren't. And I think a lot of people who we assume aren't are just ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
James, we're talking about the story in Louisiana. This man killed his 7 children. Also shot his ex or his wife, I believe. I don't think they're divorced yet. Shot her, but she survived. And and shot her sister. This is about the sister that was killed in Kenya. No, this isn't about her, but I did reference that story. I don't think it was Kenya though. I don't think it was Kenya. But
where they were at, but yeah, like I said, I mean, we also we don't know the full stories. I don't know if we ever will
yeah,
know the full stories, but you know, it's this. Like I said, it's a lot of pressure on a lot of people. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
Put
that's
natural names comment up there. That's where the other young lady was killed.
but yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, it's I feel like the violence is coming from the extra pressure. You know what I mean? Stuff that is, I don't know, completely out of our. I don't know. It's. I just think that there's a bigger root to the violence part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, as men, a lot of men have to learn how to start dealing with their emotions better. You know what I
Well, I
mean?
mean,
And
it's the classic hurt people, right? So
yeah,
I was talking earlier about the different pressure that black men feel because we have to disarm at the same time protect our masculinity because we're supposed to be hyper masculine, but we're always having to disarm people when we interacted with them because they whoa, what are your intent, nigga? I'm just trying to get some. Can you excuse me? I'm just trying to grab the milk, my nigga.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not. I
yeah,
don't want your wallet, motherfucker. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So it's just that exhaustion being seen a certain way, and then coming home. Any frustration you then deal with at home, you want to take that out on the person closest to you. That's what happens. Hurt people. The abused turn around and exact abuse. So the world abuses us. We come home and abuse our woman, and then she's
and
dealing
then,
with abuse from the world, from us, and racism. Which we're only dealing with the racism of it all because we have
yeah,
the benefit of being men, but they're dealing with not only like racism, but then this whole patriarchal system and misogyny, misogynoir, like all of that shit.
yeah,
And we need to become more hyper aware of that and of our role in protection and our role in guarding them from all of this shit. Because
yeah,
honestly, like I keep alluding to this because I was honestly mad at myself when I realized it. But because I don't even remember what conversation sparked it, but when I realized that, hey, women actually have to think about when they go walk somewhere. Like if they have to make sure if I'm going to go walking somewhere, I want to be back before it's dark because I can't be out here walking by myself in the dark.
yeah,
It never crossed my mind that that's something that women have to think about, and it made me mad at myself that I didn't realize that as a reality. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Because like, damn, like of course that makes sense.
yeah,
And it's not that a bunch of women in my life been walking around in the dark by themselves. So it's not something I saw a lot and didn't think was anything wrong with. But I'm just saying, like, the fact that we don't think about these next level issues that they deal with on a day-to-day basis, it just highlights the difference in the experience, the day-to-day
and that
experience.
I really don't understand it because I mean, you know, I've had plenty of dudes that I've had to tell like, hey, like walk her to her car. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. To me, it's something that
Well, yeah, I
I
mean
think
stuff like
about. You know what
stuff
I
like that.
mean? But
Yeah, I mean that's I think that's Southern hospitality. I think we're just raised a certain way to
I mean,
always.
see, and that's the problem. Like it's not Southern hospitality. Like she wants you to walk her to the car because she feels unsafe. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, but that's
and
why we're doing it. We're not. I've never been confused on that. I never thought that I was walking a woman to her car because she didn't know how to get there.
no,
You know
no,
what I'm saying?
I'm not
I, I
saying
I
that. I'm
know I
saying
know it's a safety thing.
no, but that's what I'm saying. It like I don't know. Hey, it just mind boggles me how many guys don't even think about that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like the fact that, and like I said, I don't know. Like maybe it's different for me. Like I've thought about these things since I was young. Like I didn't let my mama walk to the car. I mean, my mama worked nights my whole life. You know what I'm saying? I watched her from the car to the door, you know, or from the door to the car, like because I know niggas is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, I don't know. It's been that way my whole life. Like with my sisters, with everybody. Like, I don't know. I've been real protective over women my whole entire life. So it's hard for me to wrap my mind around the thoughts that people don't have about women. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I
and
got
then, like I said, like the times that we're in now, like me having so many daughters, like it's a difference. You know what I mean? Between uh, my mom and my sisters and my aunts and them, and then like having daughters that's coming up in this generation. You know what I'm saying? Like still the same protection rules apply, but hey, they're dealing with different shit now, and these men are, you know, getting crazier. You know what I mean? So I mean that's why there's an influx of women that just don't talk to men. They'd rather talk to women than talk to men because it's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? You never know what happens when a man's mind flips and he goes crazy. Hey, I mean, it's almost like having a wild animal in the house with you. You know that this animal is much, much stronger than you and gets angry at times. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's a constant fear for a woman because, you know, it's a different feeling if a man snaps.
mm. That wild animal in the house line kind of got to me, bro. Like that's crazy. You
I
know
mean,
what I'm
but
saying?
it's true.
Nah,
Hey,
for real. Like that's terrifying.
yeah. Hey,
You know?
what if it's you, your wife, and your kids, and the man snaps? Like who is there to stop him?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If the cops don't get there fast enough, if you don't have any other real men in the vicinity that's gonna step in, and I mean, I've been in more than a few fights over men getting aggressive with women. Like I hate it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I was privileged enough to grow up with sisters who could fight. And
Mhm.
every time they got into a physical altercation, by the time I got there, the dude was already hurt. And my mom as well. You know what I mean? They always finished the fight before I could even make it from my room to their room.
Why are there so many fights, nigga?
Because niggas is crazy. Like, and I mean,
Hey, but are these different niggas they're fighting every time?
I mean, yeah, nah, I mean, they had different niggas. My mama dated, you know what I'm saying? My sister dated, and I mean, my sisters are a little rough around the edges, so they didn't take much shit. So if a nigga ever bucked up to my mama or my sisters, it was gonna get physical, and I don't know, I did they didn't really take shit from no man, and I don't know. That's been ingrained in me my whole entire life. You know what I'm saying? One of my first situations was New Year's Eve when I was 18 and heard some girl screaming in the back of a car. Turn around, it's some dude just wailing on this girl. Actually, the dude was in the back seat beating her, and the nigga that was driving was turned around, just hitting. I
Hitting
went on
her
there and beat
too?
the shit out of both of them niggas.
They were both hitting her?
Yeah, I don't even know what the fight was about. Hey, I damn near do a nigga off the balcony for slapping this girl with a shoe. Hey, I don't play that shit at all. You hit a woman, I'm gonna try to kill you.
Yeah, but see, the
But and
thing
that's
is, that there are a lot of men who don't act in those situations,
and that's
who
the
pull out
problem.
the
Like,
phone, start recording. So that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like it's societal. You know what I'm saying?
if you can see that and not do nothing, I believe something's already wrong with you. I see the videos of some girl in trouble and niggas is just sitting there not even thinking about helping. Like to me, that is fucking crazy. Like, why would you not be willing? Like, I mean, I know it's crazy, and I've had other women say this to me that you shouldn't be willing to die for another woman that you don't know. But me personally, I feel that I can handle that situation way better than any woman can.
Well, the thing is
So
that's impossible to say to us honestly because, and again, like you shouldn't have to have a daughter to understand this, but like even like our mothers, our sisters, like if God forbid a woman that we love is in that position and there's a man in the area who doesn't do shit because he's scared. You know what I'm saying? Nah,
yeah,
fuck that. So like I think the reason you think like that, the reason I think like that, the reason I think most men, I really don't think that most of us don't feel this way. I think most men feel this way. I think the reason we feel that way is because we would want in that situation for that to be done for our loved ones. You know what I'm saying? Like it just be the same way as I said at the beginning of this. We're supposed to be protective of children. It shouldn't even be a conversation that we protect kids, that we don't harm kids. Like it should be the same community amongst men when it comes to women. Like, if we see a woman, our instinct shouldn't be to conquer that. It should be protect that. Look out for that. Make not that. I'm sorry. Apologies. Protect her. You know what I'm saying? Look
Yeah.
out for her. Guard. It shouldn't be anything. It should be our instinct should be protection, because the facts are we're physically stronger, and with that strength, I think comes the responsibility to protect. We're not stronger to do harm. We're stronger to protect, and it's
That's why we should live in a matriarchal society, because we are the strength, and the women are emotional and have more brains than men. Like, we were made to protect and fight.
that we should be the soldiers.
Yeah.
But honestly, like that our culture, like I don't know how much research you've done into where you come from, where your people come from, your original tribes and all that shit, but we may come from cultures that were matriarchal in nature, and that may be why some of us are more open to that type of society. But
Yeah.
it's obvious we're seeing a direct comparison right now. Like, just imagine what this country would look like right now if we didn't have this angry man in office, as opposed to the smart, educated, thoughtful, intelligent
Yeah.
woman,
A caretaker.
yeah, who was an actual viable option. Like, no, we got this maniac in office, and no wonder the world's going to shit. So,
Yeah.
but
It's
I want to put I wish I should have gotten images of these books, but I'm just going to say the names once again. So again, these are the books, and then this is my contract with y'all, my verbal contract with y'all. I'm going to read these 3 books by the end of the year, and I will report back as I make progress. We Real Cool: Black Men and Masculinity is book number 1. The Will to Change: Men, Masculinity, and Love is book number 2. And All About Love: New Visions is book number 3, all by Bell Hooks. Those are the 3 books that I personally want to read by the close of this year, to further educate myself on my own ignorance when it comes to this subject, so that I can have better, more productive conversations with the men in my life, with my sons, my brothers, all of that, so that we can collectively, as we all do this one by one as a community, start to turn the tide, be more aware of these issues, and prevent cases like this, where we have men who are obviously overwhelmed, dealing with whatever he's dealing with in life, in addition to whatever mental issues he has, in addition to the likely either refusal or just ignorance when it comes to therapy, blowing up in these situations, taking the lives of innocent children, and harming the women who we are here literally to care for and protect. Yeah, man. So that's all I got, man. I don't want to hold y'all too long. Um, if there's some comments that you want to put up, or if there's anything else that you want to say.
There's a few comments. I agree with all this. I know it's a different rabbit hole, but it all makes sense. And that's all I was trying to say, that it's deeper than it's deeper than just men learning. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff going on.
I put the last comment by natural name. Yeah, and then for the comment before that, yeah, if you're friends with a man who beats women,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like even sitting there watching it, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Which I've had to break up friends and that was, getting aggressive with their women, but yeah, I'm still gonna put you in your place every time. You know what I'm saying? Which if it was a friend that actually put his hands on a woman, I'm gonna knock him out. But even if it's an altercation, just a few New Years ago, I had to, hold somebody's girl back because she started getting wild. But he didn't fight back. So,
mm,
which, I don't know if that was just because I was there or what, but it wasn't finna go down in front of me. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if more men would stand up, I don't think the videos that we see, you know, would happen the way that they do.
well, yeah, yeah, of course. But like Natural Nate is saying here, yeah, that is misogynoir. You know what I'm saying? That's that extra layer of racism on top of the misogyny that black women deal with um, on a large scale. And again, something that until sadly enough, a couple of years ago, I didn't even know it was a thing.
I had a lot of stuff I had to change. It was actually when my son was born. So about 6 years ago, I really started learning a lot more. You know what I mean? Just listening to my wife more, changing my algorithm a little bit to see what's actually happening with women. And yeah, I learned a lot over the past, 6, 7 years. So,
Why specifically when your son was born?
I really don't know. I think I mean, he was born right there around like 2020. Like he was born in 2019. So
Mm,
it was a time where I was at home a lot, you know what I mean?
mm.
And that's when the whole doom scrolling really got to going. But I mean, even on every app that you sign up to, if you're a man, it's gonna immediately flood you with the stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? And that actually bothered me when I first signed on to TikTok. And so like I actively changed my algorithm to get the stuff that my wife was getting. And it just started opening my eyes to a lot more stuff. So
Mm.
I mean, because it's a different algorithm. You know what I'm saying? They know that you're a man, especially if they know you're a black man. For a while, my TikTok thought I was a white man, and I saw some of the most racist shit you could ever see. Like for real, like you change your algorithm and start see what other people see, it gets crazy. You know what I'm saying? But like I
Mm.
said, seeing what women see, it opened my eyes a lot.
Mm.
It's that algorithm. They're gonna push a certain narrative. I mean, I know. I think it was James said, earlier about like we don't own the music industry. Like it's still the white man that's controlling all of this. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna have something to do with racism and something to do with men because of who's in control. You know what I'm saying? It just trickles down from there.
Mm.
So it's at the point where we're at now, it's all about the algorithm.
I
You know what I'm
mean, like
saying?
the world. I mean, shit, the country, the world. We see firsthand now. You know what I'm saying? Just going back to the grand scale of it all, the difference between what it looks like when you just want any white man, as opposed to the qualified black woman, uh, white woman, Indian, whatever, nigga.
Yeah,
They did the same shit to Hillary. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
just any white man will do, and then we end up in shit.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Because
hopefully,
it's because all they gonna do is follow the same shit that's been going on for hundreds of years.
yeah, hopefully we can hopefully we can start changing. But yeah, we'll let y'all go, man. Keep these, like I said, those of you who pray, please keep these families in your prayers, um, and the first responders who walked into this horrific scene today. and are now carrying that thought and that memory for the rest of their lives. You know, may God grant them peace as well. So thank y'all for joining us for this conversation. Are you frozen? Fitting. Thank y'all for joining us for this conversation. But yeah, I'll be open to more serious topics, you know, going forward, because I do want to be, like I said, more intentional with whatever reach I have as far as trying to be positively impactful as opposed to just telling jokes all the time. I see you, Nay. I'm going to leave. He has to end this stream, so it'll just be a blank screen. So y'all can go now. This is where the video ends.